The book that I'm going to record is called Drum Set Control. And the idea behind it is that we take specific rudiments and we play them around the drum set. And we use those rudiments in conjunction with the bass drum. In other words, rather than play everything with my hand, I'm going to be playing some of the notes with the bass drum. Now those rudiments, and I started with a single stroke roll. In fact, one half of the book is devoted to breaking up the single stroke roll. So I go around the drum set clockwise, and then I also go around the drum set counterclockwise. Usually, if the right hand is moving, the right hand will go around clockwise. If the left hand is moving, the left hand will go around counterclockwise. And in that case, I will leave the right hand on the floor tom. Like I said, to begin with, we'll be concentrating on the single stroke roll, but breaking it up. To give you an example, if I play 3 notes around the drum set, and then play a bass drum, that breaks up the single stroke roll. That bass drum gives me a fraction of a second to move back to whatever drum I want to continue on. Most of the exercises just keep repeating because they are exercises. I will just demonstrate that little exercise that I did in 8 notes. And then in triplets, and even in 16th notes. So that's the idea of the book. What I'm going to do, first of all, is play an exercise, and this is on page 7. It's on page 7, exercise number 1. All this does is it takes a single stroke roll and moves the right hand around the drum set in a clockwise manner. I've written the exercise with the bass drum on all 4 notes in 4/4 time, and the hi-hat playing on 2 and 4. When I do that, what I've been usually doing is playing the heel on 1, the toe on 2, the heel on 3, and the toe on 4. So you hear the high side cymbal on 2 and 4, but I'm actually making a motion on 1 and 3 as well. I'll combine that with the bass drum, and this is what we get. I'm playing the bass drum with the heel down, and that's necessary if you want a light sound. If you want a really loud sound, we usually use our entire leg and play with the heel off the pedal like that. I've discovered that most drummers that I'm teaching nowadays have trouble keeping the heel down and playing the bass drum. So they have trouble playing the bass drum quietly, especially while going fast. So what I would suggest is practice that separately, keep the heel down. The goal that you should set for yourself is 4 notes to every second. You can set your metronome at 120 and play 2 notes to every click of the metronome. You'll actually be playing a tempo of 240. It's about this speed. Now while you're playing at this tempo, listen to the bass drum and try to make every single note the same volume. At first you're going to find out that that's impossible. So when you start hearing things like this, it's time to stop, slow down the metronome, and practice that at a tempo that you can control. This is a long-term proposition, and it'll take many months before you'll be able to play this with the heel down, getting the same volume on the bass drum. Notice that the bass drum pedal swings all the way back. What I like to say is, don't fight the spring. The spring might want to bring the pedal back 8 or 10 inches off the drum. And when you play, let the pedal go back that far. Let it go back as far as the spring will bring it. And then try to control the volume. Letting the toe of your foot play, but then relaxing so that the spring brings the pedal all the way back. So I'm going to play the pedal that way. And I'm going to add to my head on 2 and 4, and I'm going to do exercise number 1. Exercise number 1 on page 7. It's a 4-measure exercise, and one of the ways to do that is to play 4 measures on the cymbal first before you play it. So I'll play it slower first. There's a second measure, third measure, fourth measure. This is the exercise. If I would do that on the snare drum without moving it, you can see the action of my right hand. My right hand's playing all the accents. The left hand is playing very soft, so I want to keep the left hand close to the drum. Probably within 6 inches. Even lower than that is better. In other words, keep it as low as you possibly can. The right hand plays all the accents. So what we say is the right hand comes from the high position and immediately goes back to the high position. Now we call that constant motion. And the constant motion means that the right hand is going from the high position, plays the note back to the high position, and then immediately comes back and plays the drum again. It doesn't have to be terribly loud. The accent you get is determined by the height of the stick. If you add extra emphasis to it, why, it almost sounds like you're pounding. That's probably necessary at times when you really want a lot of volume. But for these exercises, just simply try to relax. Bring the right hand all the way up to the high position and use constant motion. I'll play that at a faster tempo now. Again, exercise number 1. Exercise number 2 is basically the same as exercise number 1, except that the right hand is now on the offbeat, on the and, rather than on the beat. Now, that means that it'll be between the bass drum. So while the bass drum is playing on the beat, the right hand will be playing off the beat, still with a constant motion. I'm going to now do number 2, and again I'll do it probably 3 different tempos. I'll start out slow, then medium, and end up fast. So I'll play 4 measures of rhythm, and then the exercise. So again, this is on page 9, number 2. play exercise number 7. Exercise number 7 features the left hand playing the accent. Again, the left hand will be playing constant motion, and it'll be going up to the full high position. In fact, when I play a slow tempo, I even bring it beyond the high position. I might even bring it back rather than 90 degrees, maybe 120 degrees. The reason for that is I want to be sure to get that constant motion. And the farther I bring it back, of course, the better chance I have at a slow tempo of keeping this hand in motion. So I'm going to play exercise number 7. This features the left hand moving around the drum set in a counterclockwise motion. And the right hand is on the floor tom playing very soft notes. So here's number 7, and again, 3 different tempos. Now you notice when I came out of that, I played this cymbal with the left hand. The reason for that was the last note of the exercise was the right hand. And although I could play the right hand on the floor tom and immediately go to the cymbal, it's kind of a dangerous proposition, because if I kept the bottom part of the cymbal while going to it, it could just take it right out of my hand. So I play the first note with the left hand and then go to rhythm. Another option, of course, would be to play the rhythm with the left hand. So I could do this. So what I'm doing there is going to the rhythm with the left hand and playing on a left hand cymbal. Now that's a really good idea. I really think that we should practice playing with the left hand on the cymbal, using our coordination with the right hand. The right hand then is playing with the right foot, and a lot of times that feels better than playing left hand and right foot. So think about that too. Page 8, number 8, is again featuring the left hand. And in this case, the left hand is on the offbeat. So I'll play number 8. First of all, this tempo. On exercise number 13, we have a situation where the right hand is playing a triangle around the drum set. Incidentally now, what I'm using in these exercises in this book is a snare drum, a mounted tom, and a floor tom. So I would categorize it as a triangle. So the right hand is going in a triangle. It's going clockwise, moving around the drum set. At the same time, the left hand is going between the snare drum and the mounted tom. So there are two different actions. This action with the right hand and this action with the left hand. What happens is it mixes up the sound of the drums. So I'm going to do number 13 again with the 4-beat bass drum, hi-hat on 2 and 4, and 3 different tempos. Now, on page 9, we have exercises for playing the bass drum. And these exercises are important because from now on, when I play the single stroke roll around the drum set, I'm going to be breaking them up with the bass drum. So you have to be able to control the bass drum not only on the beat, but off the beat as well. And so I'm going to play exercise number 20. I'm going to play it 2 ways. I'm going to play it with the heel-toe idea. Then I'm also going to play it with the hi-hat on all 4 beats. And that's another way I want you to practice. Practice the hi-hat just on 2 and 4, and practice the hi-hat on all 4. Well, let's start number 20 now with the heel-toe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And now bring in the bass drum. 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, 1. Again. A little faster. With the hi-hat on all 4 beats. On page 12, why, I'm going to do exercise number 30. This gives you an idea of breaking up the single stroke roll around the drum set. And what I'm going to do is play 2 notes on each of the 3 drums before I play the bass drum. So there'll be 2 notes on the snare drum, 2 notes on the mounted tom, 2 notes on the floor tom, and then a bass drum. Now actually we can think of this as a 7-note pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that pattern just simply keeps repeating. So if I started on the beat, then the next time I start the pattern, it will be off the beat. We're playing 8th notes, so anytime a pattern has an odd number, like 5 or 7 or 9, every time I start it, I will start it on a different part of the beat. In other words, if I started on the beat at first, the second time it will be off the beat. Then the third time will be back to on the beat, and the fourth time off the beat. So I can practice those exercises separately. In other words, I can practice those 7 notes separately if I wanted. If I take the beginning of exercise 30 and play the first 7 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that goes from the first beat up to the 4th beat. So I could play rhythm for a measure, and then do that, and 4. Then play rhythm for 1 measure, 1, 4, until I had the feel of that particular part of the exercise. Then I would move on to the next 7 notes. The next 7 notes actually start on the and of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and. And the bass drum is the last note, and that will be the end of 3. But I can practice that separately. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can do that with each portion of this exercise. Once I am able to control it, regardless of where it starts, whether it starts on 1 or the end of 3 or on 2 or end of 4, then of course I'll put everything together. So here's exercise 36 on page 12. Again, very slow at first. And it's a 4-measure exercise, so I'll play 4 measures of rhythm. Here's the 3rd measure, now the 4th measure. I think it's a wise idea to play the bass drum along with the rhythm. That's just to exercise the bass drum foot as much as possible. When we play the solo, of course, the bass drum will be used as part of the solo. So for the solo portion, why, I will stop the bass drum and play it when it is played as a solo or as part of the pattern. Part of that, the last note of the 7-note pattern. So let's do 36 a couple more times, a little bit faster. On page 13, exercise number 40 is basically the same exercise that I just finished playing, but it goes counterclockwise around the set, and it starts with the left hand. I caught the stick on the rim of that drum, so let's start again at that moderate tempo. And now even a little bit faster than that. On page 14, number 44, we have an exercise that goes back and forth. It goes to the right, and then it plays the bass drum, and then it turns to the left, or goes to the left hand, right hand first, and then the left hand. So it's 7 notes in one direction and 7 notes in the other direction. So. Okay, just a second. I'm going to just move over and close the door here a little bit. Okay, and we're back now for the rest of this exercise. Again, this is page 14, number 44. Page 14, exercise number 44. Another thing I'm going to do, I think, and this is something that drummers do occasionally, is roll up my trousers so that they're above the bass drum beater. Because the bass drum beater was actually catching on the bottom of my trousers on occasion. And I didn't want that to happen. Nobody will see it in the audience because you're behind your bass drum. So, again, number 44 of moderate tempo. Now, one thing I want to talk about is fill-in. If you notice that there are dotted lines around the very end of some of these exercises, that is what I call a fill-in. And what you do is you practice it by playing only that portion of the exercise that is within that little square of the dotted lines. Now, you can play just one rhythm of the symbol, and then play the measure that has the fill-in. But you play rhythm up to the point where the fill-in starts. Now, in number 44, the one exercise we just finished, the fill-in starts on the end of 2. So I would play rhythm for one measure plus 2 quarter notes, and then start the fill-in with the bass drum. So it would go like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I probably would not play the bass drum on the second beat of the measure, the last measure, just before I play the fill-in. I would keep the rhythm going, 1, 2, 10, and then play the bass drum on the end of 2. So again, it would be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Going back to exercise 40 on page 13, let me play that fill-in. The only difference is that I've made the fill-in so it ends with the bass drum as well as begins with the bass drum. And of course there'll be a double bass drum then, because when I come out of it back to the rhythm, I'll want to play a bass drum when I hit the first note of the rhythm. So you'll hear that 2 bass drums in a row at the end of the fill-in. It'll sound like this: 2, 3, 4, 1. Now you can also play what I did there the last time without the bass drum. Just play it and then play the fill-in. I'm going to go back to page 14 now and look at exercise 47. 47 just has 2 notes on each drum and then immediately a bass drum. So you can say that this would be like a 3-note phrase, just 3 notes, 2 with the sticks and 1 with the bass drum. Another thing we can do with these exercises is do them all on the snare drum instead of moving them around the set. And I quite frequently will do that with an exercise when I'm trying to work it up. I will get the feeling of it and the coordination on the snare drum before I'll go around the drum set with it. Now 47 then would actually be just, but with the hi-hat added, it becomes a syncopation. 1, 2, 3, 4. left hand as well. And then, of course, I can alternate. Now, 47 goes around the drum set in a clockwise motion. So I will play that for you now. Here's exercise 47 on page 14.